ReFuelEU Aviation is part of the most ambitious legislative climate package of the EU ever. And one of the main goals of my political group and myself is to shape the package in a way that it will decarbonize but not deindustrialize Europe. With regard to the ReFuelEU regulation, that means that I'm fighting for a globally competitive European aviation industry and for future-proof jobs in Europe. In this scenario, the development, production and deployment of eFuels will have to play an important role. There's a broad consensus that a blending mandate is the right way forward, but as always, opinions differ on how to define SAFs and on which targets are realistic. I personally believe that the path beyond 2035 must be subject to the planned review, when we will have an in-depth analysis of availabilities, capacities and impacts on costs, competitiveness and mobility. Having spoken to a lot of stakeholders with various backgrounds, I'm strongly convinced that e-fuels are the future. I fully recognize the importance of bio-based fuels other than feed and food that will have to deliver the majority share of our SAF's targets until 2030 and continue to be a solid base from then onwards. But it will never be more than that, a solid base. After months of negotiations, I'm happy to see that the final compromise of the Transport Committee embraces a sub-target for synthetic fuels, and I'm even more happy that the target of 0.04% in 2025 and 2% in 2030 echoes exactly the numbers I have suggested in the Industry Committee back in February. These targets are carried now by a broad majority of colleagues, and I hope that a similar broad majority for these targets will also be found in the Council, because we need to scale up investments and production as fast as possible. As EPP, we made a strong contribution to create the right regulatory framework. We have ensured a SAF allowance under ETS aviation. We have prepared the ground to ramp up the installation and import of renewable energy, and we have pushed for higher RFNBO targets. We have ensured that outermost regions are exempted but can choose to opt in, and we have installed an interim flexibility mechanism to allow for building up the necessary infrastructure. Many thanks to the eFuel Alliance and its members for being a trustful partner in this. It is very important to bring these stakeholders together and speak with one voice, from the manufacturers to the energy providers, the fuel producers to the airports and airlines. I believe that only together we can make this challenge work. My excuse is that I cannot attend today's webinar in person, but I hope you will have a good discussion and stay committed to an ambitious European e-fuels deployment.